favorite donut place, the Lamar Donuts. And his favorite was the chocolate frosted with sprinkles, right?
Yeah.
So we've got some of those over there. They look like this one here. You can try one. Make sure you sign the guest book. It's out on the desk out front there.
Programs are there too.
Yeah, programs are there as well. And what we're gonna do is go ahead and have people share like some fond memories of Brad and go around and everything. And Elizabeth is gonna go ahead and start us off. And then after that, whoever would like to share can go ahead and share.
Can we turn the music down just a smidge?
Yeah, I'll turn it down one notch.
It's a little distracting. Oh, not all the way off, just.
No, the AC
Oh.
happened to turn on the exact moment.
Brad really loved dogs, and he would cry when he read about a service dog or a military dog died. He was very tender-hearted, and he loved wolves, and he watched a lot of wildlife cams that had the wolves in the wild, and he loved to hear them howl. And he had a very logical way of approaching life, but he was also very tender-hearted.
I'm Peggy, and I'm Elizabeth's best friend. And I remember when they first met and when they first started seeing each other. And the thing that I remember the most about Brad is that he loved Elizabeth. He loved her so much. And it was almost like he almost put her on a pedestal and worshipped her, but not in a way that would seem to be too much or overpowering. And he just wanted what was best for her. And one of the things that I personally love about Brad is that he never minded that Elizabeth and I were best friends and that we would go, whether I came here or we met in Emporia or she came to Kansas City, he never cared. If we just went to a restaurant, just the two of us, and just talked for 4 hours. And he never was like, how dare you take my wife away from me or anything. He was always thrilled and happy that she had that time to do what she wanted to do, and he was always generous with it. And I would bring my dog up from Kansas City, and Brad would take Lennox and keep Lennox there with Jupiter and play with the dogs, which he said was much more fun than going to a restaurant and listening to us yak for 4 hours. So he always gave us that freedom to have our friendship, but it didn't detract at all from his love for her and his kindness towards me. And he was always very kind to me, and even when I got very bossy with him and demanded that he go and take care of his health that he needed to or something like that, he would always accuse us of ganging up on him, and we did, and that's true. But he always took it with, a laugh and even a thank you later that, that we ganged up on him in a way full of love. And that's what I remember most about Bradley is just his love. That he loved animals, and he loved the people that were around him, and he loved Elizabeth more than anything in the world. And that is something that is rare to find. And I'm really glad that you had the chance to have that in your life, because you deserve that. And he is still loving you every minute, I know. And I hope you can feel that and enjoy it every day of your life.
I'm a little bit of a hothead, and there were times he had to wear a hard hat while working with me, because sometimes I'd get a little frustrated at him because he's annoying, but some of the best people are, and I'd chuck pens So he would go into the little room and pull on a hard hat and put on the hard hat. And then he'd say something else smart and more pins would go flying. And it was working in that guard shack that my mom came and visited one time, because I worked second shift, she worked first, and didn't live very far from where I worked. And the first time he ever saw my mom walking to the guard shack, he was like, "Who is that?" And I'm like, "That's my mom. She's gorgeous." I mean, just literally, first sight, loved my mom. And it was a while later. He didn't ever really talk a whole lot when my mom would come and visit. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get the trucks. I'll get the trucks. You guys talk. I'll get the trucks." And he had gone to a different security site and come back to visit not quite a year later. And I was on the phone with my mom, and I was like, "You know what? Hey, Mother, do you want to go on a date with somebody that I used to work with?" And my mom was like, "Sure, who?" And so I was like talking about it, and Brad is in the background going, "I'm going to kill you." Because very shy. And he also had it in his head that my mom was just so perfect. There was no way that she would want to go on a date with him and be with him. And I was like, no, I got this, it's fine. And so I was like, she said yes. And he's like, and I'm like, "Here's the phone, schedule it." So I kind of was pushy and a bully when it came to that. And while he annoyed me, he was so great for my mom. Just no regrets. That was, goodness, 2008? It's been a while.
It was 2008, because we got married in 2009.
Yeah. And he was funny, he was annoying, he was loving, and that's how we want people to be. And a little bit nutty. Fit right in. You're all a little bit nutty. And so he had a knack for expressing how he loved people when he liked people, because he didn't like everybody in the world, because not everyone in the world is pleasant. But when he loved you, you knew it. There was no denying it. And that goes far.
Not very good at this improv stuff, so I got something John wrote, and then I just want to say that something Brad and I really had in common was our love for dogs. Anybody that loves dogs as much as he did is A-okay in my book. This is from John. "Brad, you are an inspiration to endurance and obstinance, two qualities I hold in great esteem. You endured more pain than most for longer than necessary, all the while on your own terms. You will endure for longer in the hearts of those who love. You will endure far longer in the hearts of those who love and love you. Love you, have my admiration, and love for you both. Your brother-in-law, John."
Yeah, I'd have to keep that.
Can I do mine from here?
Yes.
I won't have to stand if it's okay. The phrase "adversity makes strange bedfellows" could be used to describe the relationship Brad and I had. We had some very different views and opinions on certain aspects of life, but we shared one very significant commonality: pain and illness. Brad suffered from many ailments, some of which caused physical pain and some caused emotional hardship. It was in these areas that we shared our common bond. If I was experiencing a particularly painful day, I could call Elizabeth and ask how Brad was doing, and inevitably he too would be in a great deal of pain. It wasn't that I was happy that he was also in pain, but it was validation that our pain, though different, was real. I know that couldn't have been easy for Elizabeth to hear from both of us about our suffering, but she was the bridge both Brad and I needed to comfort each other in a way that no other person could. I cannot honestly stand here today and say that I'm glad that Brad is gone, but I am so relieved that he is no longer suffering. I will miss our connection, but will always remember in my heart the bond we shared.
The first time I met Brad, he didn't say a word. The whole time we were together, he didn't say a word, and I'm thinking, I don't know about this. Weird. And you told me he's very shy. The next time we all got together, I don't think he stopped talking. And I learned something about him that is very precious. That I don't think people, I think it's something that people acquire through life when they have a lot of hard knocks. We were sitting there in the village inn. This is an example, because this happened more than once. We're sitting there in the village inn, and he looks over, he's sitting right here beside me, he looks over across the room. The village inn's big. He looks across the room and he says, oh, something sad is happening over there. That whole family, something's going on. He had such a strong receptor for other people's pain. He could see it. To say he had a sensitive heart, it was like he had this receptor and this special antenna that he could see and register somebody else's pain, even though he didn't even know. He could just feel it. And he just had such a big heart, you know, and he always cared. He would look at you with those huge deer-like eyes with such love and care, no matter who you were. You know, just openly cared for everybody. Some people he didn't like, but he never acted on it, which is something, you know. But he really did seem to care for everyone, whether they're small little furries all the way to big people. So I'm really glad that he joined our family.
I'm Russell. I've worked with Brad for a long time in security. And one of the couple of things that I remember about him was the very first time he came came to me, and he had a job interview with me. And so we sat down and talked and talked and talked. And it was all about Elizabeth. I don't think we ever did get the interview completed. I finally told him, Brad, you're hired. You know. And but the whole time was all about Elizabeth and how much he cared about and loved her. And I always thought that was really cool. And the second thing is, this time of year at Thanksgiving time, and I had been trying to get somebody to work at the Red Cross on first shift on Thanksgiving Day. I'd been trying for about a week, and nobody wanted to do it. And so finally, Brad stepped up to the plate and said, I'll do it. So I can remember sitting at the Thanksgiving dinner table with my family, and my wife said, who's working at the Red Cross today on first shift? And I told her Brad was. And she said, well, I'm gonna make him Thanksgiving dinner. So she put together a big Thanksgiving dinner and pie and everything, and took it out to Brad. And I told him, I said, hey, Brad, we want you to have this for Thanksgiving dinner. You may not be able to be with your family right now, but we want you to eat well. And it's the only time I ever saw him cry. And tears started opening down his cheeks. And it was just one of those moments that you cherish forever. So I'm very glad to have had him in my life. Thank you.
It's a nice story.
So, I didn't know Brad as well as some other people around here. Distance meant that we didn't get to spend a lot of time together. And before I even met Brad, I knew Brad. My mom started to feel better. Where she was, I didn't know she'd even met him. Years later, that's when I found out that that's the reason. So I saw his impact on the family, on everyone. And that's the part we were.
Brad was a really great guy. Definitely a pack animal, and even joining the family late, he was always part of the pack. Probably my favorite thing about him was the popcorn that you guys would send. Me and Mackenzie would fight over it and look forward to it every single year for Christmas. That was one of our favorite things. We'd fight over it all the time. He's an inventor. He created all kinds of stuff like the tactical Tupperware, which I thought was a silly idea, but it was clever nonetheless. And there was other things that he definitely put together. Definitely an impressive person, funny to be around, all around loving, and genuinely a great guy. And I'll always miss him.
If there's no one else who'd like to share, please have some donuts, have some coffee. Let's hang out for a while, visit with each other.
Any donuts left over, Jake has volunteered